still a b-boy. From the old to the new, still a b-boy. Too bold for the school, still a b-boy. East coast to the west, b-boys worldwide, we supposed to be blessed, still a b-boy.
What's up, b-boys and b-girls? This week we're heading back to Compton to talk about one of the most gangsta rappers to come out of the West. From his days as the front man of Compton's Most Wanted, to his famous beef with DJ Quick, to his trademark, Geah. This man has been putting it down for over 30 years. That's right, top 10 MC Eiht / Compton's Most Wanted songs, either count. Either of them are fair game for this list. Joining me, Diz Mega, and as always, Raven Hunter. Three of us are going to hold it down. And I'm going to start it off with my number 10, which was a bit of a surprise for me. It was from his 1999 album, Section 8. And it was a song called Thicker Than Water. You know, the On The Real tracks always get me. I'm a softie. This was Eight's first record on the Who Bangin', Mac 10's Who Bangin' label. I just love the vibe of this song. It's a personal favorite, On The Real type song. Great hook and great sample. It's just that laid back summertime gangsta shit, and it kept sneaking up on my list, and it made it there at number 10. Thicker Than Water. Not a lot of people may know this track. Check it out. That's my number 10. Diz, what's yours?
My number 10, I'm actually coming into the decade here, and there's a track called Life Lessons featuring E40. By this point, you know, they're rapping different. They got different topics and stuff. And, you know, if you listen to E40 a lot, he's always got like that type of hood wisdom and whatnot. And him and MC Eiht together just kind of doing that hood wisdom type of thing, but still keeping it gangsta. Just made for one of my favorite tracks. I like what MC Eight's been doing as of late. And this is probably one of the gems of his latest project. So I got to go with Life Lessons featuring E40.
No, I also was pleasantly surprised with some of Eight's new stuff. Number 10, Raven, what's yours?
Number 10, one of my favorite tapes in the early 90s was We Come Strapped. And the song that always stuck out for me was Compton Psycho. Just that classic, you know, West Coast gangster rap sound. That's what I was looking for. That's what I still look for when I put his albums in. Now, Thicker Than Water, tracks like that, you will hear a little more about them later. But just down to the root, Compton Most Wanted's production and just MC Eight's flow was the epitome of gangster rap in like 94 when that dropped. So that tape barely ever left my tape player. Even up until Death Threats came out, I was still bumping We Come Strapped daily.
I think a lot of people, if you ask them, they count We Come Strapped as their favorite Eight album. Maybe either that or Music to Drive by CMW, but one of those two, he is in his prime, and that is a great song. So I like that pick. We're off to a great start. So I'll take it to 9. I'm going to 1995's Tales from the Hood soundtrack. You know where this is going. One Less Brother. What a dope soundtrack. We've talked about it before on this show. Amazing soundtrack in that it really has the feeling of the movie. It's not just, okay, let's get a bunch of songs, put them on a movie soundtrack. It like is a perfect vibe for this movie. And this song, you know, fits that perfectly. Eight and CMW had some really classic songs on hip-hop soundtracks. Great mid-90s West Coast. It's like dark G shit. This was produced by Eiht himself. It's a really great haunting beat, which kind of puts it over the top for me. So it had to make it. Check out the Tales from the Hood soundtrack if you haven't lately. That's my number 9. Diz, what's yours?
Number 9 from the Veterans Day album. This is 2004, off the Mac 10 label. I think that label just went under. But him and the Chill had hooked up again, and he got this song called Gangsta Smash. And it's just a dope, smooth track, man. A lot of the album is like that. And I think the Chill did like the entire record. But this one is just cool, man. I love the key in it. You know, the way the bass goes dun, 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 and the way he flows to it is just dope, man. I'm like, yeah, this is Eiht, man. I loved it. So yeah, Gangsta Smash, The Chill, and MC Eiht Veterans Day.
Raven, what is your number 9?
Number 9, I went with Section 8 from 1999 with the song Murder at Night. Just another dope ass beat and a dope ass flow from 8. I think Section 8's actually a really underrated album. Might be his last really good, well-rounded album. Last Man Standing, I think, came out right before that, which was pretty good, but I actually like Section 8 a lot better. And Murder at Night, just, I don't know, I love that beat.
I had a note here. Section 8 was his last really good album.
Oh, yeah.
So you're on the same wavelength as I actually thought Last Man Standing was a bit of a dip, went from
Same.
death threats to, the one where he's standing in front of like the size of a skyscraper, which I never really understood that album cover. But anyways, and he kind of brought it back with Section 8 on Who Bangin'. And just one before, you talked about a little song called Compton Psycho. So my number 8, 1994, Compton Psycho. Just like you said, this always stuck out with me, this song, for whatever reason. This was the first album where he was just billed as MC Eiht, no more Compton's Most Wanted, just said featuring Compton's Most Wanted. I know a lot of people think this is his best, and it might be. But this was always such a favorite to mine. I love the scratching in the hook. Eiht rides the beat perfectly. It fits his voice perfectly. Just such a good record. And I recently heard a demo of the original version of We Come Strapped. And it's a lot of different beats. It's the same songs, but a lot of different beats. Even Straight Up Menace from Menace to Society's on there, but with a different beat. And he turned it in, I guess, and the record company was like, nah. So he went back and reproduced it with what we heard now. But it was interesting to hear. And the version we got was way better. I can attest to that. Just interesting nugget. So yeah, Compton Psycho, check it out. Diz, what's your number 8?
Number 8, off the album Which Way Is West, I'm picking Got That featuring DJ Premier. DJ Premier and Frank Sinatra on the beat here. I love what these two did on this record. When I heard this record, I just fell in love with the project. I was like, this is so dope, man. It's one of my favorite 8 records. There's some classic tracks on there. This one is probably one of my favorites, maybe my second favorite, but I love that track, Got That, with DJ Premier. MC Eiht has evolved, and this is still like 2000, this is 2017, which is crazy to think that, oh my God, that's like 7 years ago.
Yeah, right.
But he just continues to evolve with his flow and whatever. And I don't know if you want to say keeping up with the times or whatever. I feel like what he's doing later now are more like these. He's just doing it for the love, not necessarily for the cash or anything. And you can hear it in this song and in some of these records too, up that are getting closer to like 2023 today. So that's it for me right there.
I agree. One thing that sticks out to me about Which Way Is West is a lot of really good features on there. So I bet it was more just personal love for it, like I'm going to do something I love, than what he might have been doing in the 90s when he's trying to sell, gold platinum records.
Word.
Raven, number 8.
Number 8, Tales from the Hood soundtrack, One Less. That soundtrack, I've already, filleted that soundtrack as much as I can in every podcast we can bring it up. Every fucking song bangs, and anytime MC Eiht's on a mid-90s soundtrack, it's gonna fucking slap. And he was on quite a few, maybe not Ice-T caliber. I think we were talking a little bit about that before, but he always brought that shit when he did those soundtracks. I don't know if it's because he knew it was going to be in a movie or but he always came hard as fuck. And One Less is a great fucking song.
Not only a great soundtrack where every song is good, but this song is probably one of my top 3, just off the top of my head. The Spice one probably is my number 1. Then I can debate, but no, great soundtrack. I knew it would make your list because I knew you love this album. Number 7, I'm going to take you back to the beginning, 1990, Compton's Most Wanted, It's a Compton Thing. And the single, One Time's Gaffling Them Up. And this is the infamous Nationwide blue tape you've heard him talk about. Very rare. It took me years to find one of these. But Eiht's described this multiple times on different songs. This is the actual original one. Very limited press. But this is when Compton's Most Wanted first came on the scene. And this is the first song I remember hearing from them. I don't remember where I heard it or who I heard it from, but One Time's Gafflin, I'm pretty sure is the first time I heard Eight's voice. You got Unknown DJ and DJ Slip handled the production on the whole album, which really helps it be a strong debut. And it's a great single to introduce, Eiht and Compton's Most Wanted. Eiht sounds so young on here because he probably was, but it's a great storytelling by just a young MC Eiht about one time. And I had to show off the Nationwide blue tape. So that's my number 7, One Time's Gafflin Up. What's yours, Diz?
Number 7 off Section 8 is Automatic. That's done by Fred Reck and Julio G, man. I love it. Both of those producers are dope, man, in their own rights. But the beat was awesome. I love the way Eiht flows on it. Once MC Eiht did this record, actually, and was on Who Bangin', I was hooked. I was kind of a casual listener, like sometimes I liked him, sometimes not. But after he did this record, I was like, this is my homie, man. I'm checking out all this shit from now on. And I did. So I love that track, especially Automatic. I think he had a video for it with the car that was on fire or something like that.
It was a
crazy.
single.
I remember that video, actually.
Automatic was an honorable mention. I love that beat. Whatever it is with that beat.
Sick.
And Fred Reck, I mean, that's someone who doesn't get talked about enough. He's made some really dope beats throughout the years, especially West Coast beats. Yeah, Automatic was honorable mention. I'm glad it made someone's list. Raven, what made your number 7?
Number 7, 1990s. It's a Compton thing, and I went with This Is Compton. Just love that fucking song. That's the first song I remember hearing Eight's voice on. And I just love that beat. It's such a dope beat. And, I got into This Is Compton, and I was a big fan of NWA, so I'm gonna have to check this fucking guy out. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, that song, I remember the first time I heard it, I was young as fuck. I was probably like 9 or 10 maybe, and it stuck with me. And that song still slaps.
I think that first record doesn't get mentioned enough. That first CMW album, in some ways, it might sound a little bit dated, but it's a really good record. When I revisit it, I really like. I like this album. I haven't listened to it in a while.
It didn't have that same just West Coast gangsta feel. I guess that some of the later stuff from him has.
Right. It was a little bit. I don't want to say lighter, but it wasn't lighthearted, but just the
lighter
vibe.
in his tone.
Lighter for Eight. Yeah, lighter for Eight. Later on, he'd be the gangsta of all gangsters. Him and Spice One are kind of 1 and 1A on who's more gangsta.
Kind of always think of the two together too.
Right. Like you said, Diz, they've made some dope songs together. I mean, 1990 Sick, that song was I could listen to it every day and not get sick of it. But I'm rambling. Number 6 I'm taking us to my favorite Compton's Most Wanted album, and it's not what most people's are. My favorite is 1991 Straight Checking 'Em. It's rare. Most people pick the record after this, Music to Drive By, which is an amazing record. This one was just always personal with me. And I'm going with the single off here, Growing Up in the Hood. This was also on the Boys in the Hood soundtrack. DJ Slip, Unknown DJ on the boards. Just a great tale about growing up in the hood in Compton. It worked well for the movie Boys in the Hood. It worked good as a single off of this record. And I love the great scratching and samples in the hook. And we talked about Chill before. Chill's on here. Eiht and him both do 2 verses. It's just, what I want from early West Coast hip hop is tales about what it was like out there. I was here in the Milwaukee area in Wisconsin, wondering what life was like in the magical land of Compton. And people like MC Eiht tried to paint that picture for me. So Growing Up in the Hood is my number 6. What is yours?
My number 6 is another track off Veterans Day. We Made It '04 featuring The Chill. It's just a smooth track, man. I love hearing The Chill and Eiht together. I didn't know that Rhythm D did some of the mixing on this album too. So I kind of, now after I learned that, I kind of picked up the patterns of it too. Okay, I get it. I could see where Rhythm D had his fingerprints on some of these tracks. But I really liked this record back in the day, when it came out. And I forgot how much I really liked it until I revisited it. And so I got 2 songs on it that are those are my favorite MC Eiht. So yeah, We Made It, man, featuring The Chill.
Rhythm D, another one who not enough people know the name of, who had his hand in some really great
For real.
music, really great West Coast music. Number 6, Raven.
Number 6, I went to We Come Strapped again for the song Nothing But the Gangsta with Redman and Spice One. That's, Spice One and MC Eiht together, always gold. And who doesn't love Redman? So great beat. And this was early Redman before he got super silly. He was always a little silly anyway, but before he went over into the Method Man territory of silly, he still came pretty hard in that song too. And I think, Time for an Action and stuff, I think people forget how gangster Redman could be back in the day.
No doubt. That was an honorable mention. That's one of my top 3 tracks off of We Come Strapped. And we are already halfway. We are at 5. And you talked about the album We Come Strapped, so I'll take us back there. Ain't that way. 1994's We Come Strapped. Dope cover, by the way. And I'm going with the song Death Wish 3. I've said it before. I said it on the last episode. When I think rap beef, instantly my mind goes Quick verse 8. And this beef, I think, brought out the best in both of them. Some of their best songs are when they're dissing each other. I love all the Death Wishes. In the first 2 Death Wishes, it's a little bit more subliminal. It's not quite as ill to the throat. But by 3, the subliminal is all gone. It's an absolute hardcore DJ Quick diss, and I think he destroys him. Slip on the beat. I gotta mention the hook and ending. So the hook is a girl singing, "Don't fuck with Eiht." It's just a girl harmonizing, "Don't fuck with Eiht." When he finishes his last verse, he says, "Bitches sing." And then that hook comes in and it makes me laugh. It made me laugh the other day when I heard it again. Just the way he says, "Bitches sing." And then she comes in and sings, "Don't fuck with Eiht." It's just like the cherry on top of a great diss track. Death Wish 3. This is what led Quick to do Dollars and Cents. So, it's all related. You don't have one, maybe you don't get the other. And Dollars and Cents led to Death Wish 4, and it's all kind of connected. At least in my head, it is. Death Wish 3, dope diss song. That's my number 5. Diz, what's yours?
Number 5, I gotta go with We Come Strapped. Dope record, man. I mean, it's so cool. This one though screams 90s West Coast to me, and I love that, man. I don't know that I skipped over this record back in the day. I'm not sure why, but I remember seeing it in a magazine as a kid, the ads and stuff. And I was like, "Who's MC Eiht? Who's that?" And I never got to it until later in my life. But I love what DJ Slip does on this record. It's probably my favorite song on that record, We Come Strapped. It just screams 90s hip hop to me, 90s gangsta rap, man. I love it. The horns on there are so cool. Ta-da, it's like, yeah, this is my shit right here. So We Come Strapped.
Definitely 90s West Coast written all over it. Number 5 for you, Raven. What is it?
Number 5 for me, I went with Death Wish 4, Tap That Ass, from the Death Threats album, 95. Dollars and Cents was fucking awesome. I think Death Wish 4 was a great follow-up to that. I think Quick kind of won overall, even though I was always kind of more of a fan of Eiht at the time. But I love the beat to Tap That Ass. I think it's probably my favorite beat from the Death Wish series. And I don't think Quick ever came back again. I think it, at least not that I can remember. I don't want to say that means that he won, but he did shoot last.
Right. No, because by Quick's next album, he had said that on the end, Use Ain't Gangsta, DJ Quick, or MC Eiht, Get Your Mind Right. We'll do a record together. So he had kind of squashed it. We never did get that. That's another thing. I have a long list for when I win Powerball, the things I'm going to do. And one of those
2 verses from them.
Yeah, even if I gotta buy 2 verses on their own and put them on the same track, I want an MC Eiht and DJ Quick song together.
I would love it.
So that's on the list. So if I ever win Powerball, be on the lookout, everyone, for that. But yes, dope song, great Menace to Society sample in the beginning, with O-Dog, classic. All right, we are at number 4, and I was here 2 spots again. I'm gonna take it back here. 91, Straight Checking Them, like I said, a personal favorite. And I'm going with the song Drive By Miss Daisy. I love this song. This was my jam off this record when it dropped in 91. I played this song over and over and over. I thought this was the hardest, most gangsta shit ever. It still gives me that vibe. It's a great flip on the movie Driving Miss Daisy. Great storytelling track, which always gets me. Unknown DJ kills the beat. Great samples in the hook from Scarface. Then you got gunshots, screams, just madness all over this piano. It's like lovely piano, and you're hearing screams and gunshots, but it works. On paper, that sounds crazy, but I just love this song. Drive By Miss Daisy would be my number 4. What would be yours, Diz?
My number 4 is Gangsta Gangsta off of Which Way Is West. We got Corrupt on the track here. We got a little sample of Eazy-E on there that just it's cool, man. I think it's Frank Sinatra on the beat. It's one of the tracks that just made this whole project one of my favorites that MC Eiht did. 2017, so not that old either in comparison. That's my 4th favorite track, man.
Which Way Is West getting mad love? Mad love.
It's got some good shit, man.
No, I'm glad at different eras that I'm bringing up our make people's lists, Raven, what's your number 4?
Number 4, it surprised me that it made it this high up on my list, let alone at all, because it was from the Last Man Standing record, which, I said I don't love, but it's Hit the Floor with Daz Dillinger. And that's more Daz Dillinger than MC Eiht in the song, to be honest. But I just fucking love that song. The beat, it screams Daz Dillinger on the, it's just great fucking song.
Hit the Floor was my one honorable mention from Last Man Standing. That is a great fucking song. And that was even flirting with number 10 for a little bit. But similar to what you said, it was kind of like, well, Daz is the best part of this song. Should it really make them?
He goes hard. That's really good.
I remember when this came out, Daz was very expensive around this time.
I'm sure he was
on fire,
in the
man.
90s. No doubt.
It's crazy.
No doubt.
This was right around the time his first album came out, his first solo, if I'm not mistaken.
Right. Yeah, that's the right timeline. Good pick. Got another one scratched off my list. And that brings us all the way to the top 3. And for the first time, I'm taking us to the year 1992. Chris entered high school, and he was bumping this shit, Music to Drive By, and the song The Hood Took Me Under. This is what most people, I think, usually say is their favorite Comptons Most Wanted album, and I get it. I get why. It's a super dope record, and this single was a great example of that. DJ Mike Tia production, and this sample of Isaac Hayes' Walk On By is just done genius. You get super dope scratching in the hook, but at a slower speed, which kind of fits the laid-back vibe of the song, and Eiht's a little bit slower flow. Eiht does what he does best, spits gangsta shit, tells street tales. I just think it was put together amazingly. The song, his verses, Hood Took Me Under. I always kind of looked at it as like Growing Up in the Hood Part 2 from the album before. So that was my number 3, Music to Drive By. Great cover too. Diz, what's your number 3?
My number 3 is Ain't Nothing To It off Death Threats. DJ Slip on the beat, featuring CMW. Well, I mean, the whole record is featuring CMW, of course, but I think it's a cool, catchy track, man. One of my first favorites on the record. I didn't start listening to this record until like a month ago or something, to tell you the truth. One of those that it was hard for me to get to it, but by the time I went on the MC Eiht kick, man, I listened to it and I was like, damn, this thing is so dope, man. I kind of regret putting it on the backlog for so long. But yeah, Ain't Nothing To It ended up being my second favorite song. I think it's, my third favorite song. And I think it's like, I could tell that it was probably really, I don't know if it was iconic or something, but it was one of those tracks that kind of defined that era for MC Eiht.
Number 3 for you, Raven. What is it?
That would be Thicker Than Water, 1999, Section 8. I love the laid back storytelling. It's such a, I don't know, you feel like he's feeling that song. You know what I mean? You can feel that he's really into what he's saying and the story he's telling. I don't know, it's such a cool vibe.
It is, and great sample. It's one I didn't think anyone else would have, but I say that every week and then you have it. But a great song. I'm glad someone else appreciates it. All right. We've heard about this album So I'll take us there for the first time. 1996's Death Threats, Gangsta. And I'm going with Death Wish 4. Microphone murder right here. He kills it. This is Eiht at his best. I think, as much as I love the first three of them, Eiht takes it to a new level on number 4, I think. And he had to. I mean, quick drop dollars and cents, Eiht had to bring it. And he brought it. He went hard on him. Not as witty as a quick song, but he makes it up for it on emotion and raw gangster vibe. Perfect sampling of Menace to Society in the beginning and the hook, and Prodigy from South Central Cartel on the beat. It don't get more gangster than that. So Death Wish 4, Tap That Ass, DJ Quick Diss. My number 2. Diz, what's your number 2?
Mine is The Hood Is Mine. And this is MC Eiht again on Who Bangin'. I think this one is In My Neighborhood, yeah. I don't know if you remember the hook where it's like with Mac 10 saying the hood is mine, homie, get back. You know, I thought that was so dope. This is I think this is his second record on Who Bangin'. And you know, by this time I was already like a strong fan because I loved Section 8. But The Hood Is Mine is just one of my favorite tracks on here. Oh, and then it features Technique on there, who's featured again on some MC Eiht tracks a lot later. But he's kind of like this unspoken Long Beach. I don't know. You can't even call him a legend, but you know he's been around. You know, he's always in the background there of Long Beach. So I love that track. That's my second favorite track from MC Eiht off that My Neighborhood record. So The Hood Is Mine.
I could be wrong, but I think in that era, Technique was signed to Who Bangin'. He popped up a lot on a lot of those projects. And for some reason, I think he was signed to Who Bangin', but I could be wrong. I've been wrong once or twice before.
No, I think you're right, man.
Number 2 for you, Raven, what is it?
Let's see. Also, if I can just say, it was super good to hear you put Tap That Ass on the list. I had a feeling Death Wish 3 would make your list. 4 surprised me, so I'm glad. 1 and 2 are the only 2 songs I didn't move on this list. Like when you said MC Eiht, I wrote down the top 2 songs and then just everything else shuffled. Hood Took Me Under, 1992. Such a good fucking song, such a good beat. That's what I think a lot of people really like. If they weren't first introduced to MC Eiht, that's when they really opened their eyes up for it. And of course they already had dope albums out before that album, but yeah, Hood Took Me Over, just the whole vibe. I think it's just in 92, 93, that era, it needed a vibe like that. And that song kind of filled that void.
That Music to Drive By album did kind of take him to a new level because that was the first time, I had been listening to CMW. That was the first time I saw like other kids in school, like, oh shit, they know who Comptons Most Wanted is. And it was this record. This record was kind of making the rounds, and it had Scarface on a song and some really classic songs. And so I think a lot of people, their mind goes to this record. And it's a great record, don't get me wrong. But that song definitely is a standout, no doubt about it. All right, we're to the end. I haven't heard anyone say this song, so I think there's a possibility we all have the same number 1. That would be a first on this show. So I will start. 1993's Menace to Society soundtrack, straight up menace. Maybe the best movie/song tie-in of all time. It's absolutely a perfect song for this movie. He told the story of the movie in 3.5 minutes, and he does it so damn good. DJ Slip again, QD3 on the beat, fits the vibe perfectly, especially that piano. That piano is so fucking perfect on this beat. That slower, lower gangsta flow by Eiht is when he's at his best. Then I have a note to tell this story about a kid I went to high school with. I won't put him on blast and say his name. He actually passed away years ago, but we're in the park playing this soundtrack, and all of a sudden he looks at me like a light bulb went off, and he's like, and this is after we've been listening to it like all summer, right? It ain't the first time he heard it. We had heard it 100 times. Wait, the things he's talking about happened in the movie. Like he finally put it together. So when I hear this song, then we all clowned on him and made fun of his ass for the next year. So I always think of that. But Straight Up Menace, perfection. It had to be number one. I wrote that at number one, kind of like you said, and then we'll write about the rest. Diz, is Straight Up Menace your number one?
It's not my number
Oh.
one, man.
Mm.
My number one is Murder at Night from Section 8 with Ant Banks on the beat.
Yeah.
It's one of Ant Banks's best beats ever. And maybe I'm just Ant Banks hungry because he kind of fell off the map. And like whenever you hear some more Ant Banks, like, oh, I want more. But it has to be my favorite MC Eiht song. I guess maybe I'm more of a new school MC Eiht guy, kinda, you know.
Mm-hmm.
I feel I'm in this little era here that's kind of not the beginning, but not, 2020. Right. And I loved Ant Banks growing up, and him and MC Eiht doing this track Murder at Night, it just bumps, man. It's me and my homies love this track so much. Had to pick it number one.
I love Ant Banks. I mean, he's one of my favorite producers. He's one of my top 5-10 producers easily of all time. And I know I always say this person doesn't get talked about enough, but Ant Banks doesn't get talked about enough. When he is talked about, it's in connection with Too Short, and I understand why. But he did so much more. Look at his solo work and other artists he worked with. Amazing, amazing producer. And dude can rhyme too. So I'll always show love to Anthony Banks. All right, Raven, you're number one. Are we going to 1993's Menace to Society soundtrack?
So in 1993, MC Eiht played a part in a movie called Menace to Society as a character called AWAX. Yeah. And he did the song for that soundtrack too, called Straight Up Menace. That is definitely my number one. Like I said, when you said MC Eiht, I had already written the top 2 lines down. The piano is so fucking good in that beat. Just the beat in general, but just the piano and the way he flows to it. And I remember first couple times I heard it, it was just another song. And then like that light bulb went off. Definitely not after 100 times. Like, oh, this literally is the plot of the movie.
It's the movie, yeah.
He said the thing from the movie. That song is just still today. It's like, today was a good day from Ice Cube. Right. I can put that on and it holds the test of 30 years, 25 years, And that movie is one of my favorite movies of all time, too. I think everybody wanted a little bit of O-Dog's attitude back in the early 90s. But AWAX was such a good character in that movie, and I played it awesome.
And one of the best hip-hop soundtracks of all time. I mean, that soundtrack was loaded.
I mean, The Trigger Got No Heart alone, along with Straight Up Menace. What else do you need?
Right. All right, we made it through MC Eiht, Geah. Honorable mentions as always. Yeah, as always, if you're joining us for the first time, if a song didn't make any of our lists, but I think it should get a little love, I just quick shout it out under the honorable mentions. So if it's a Compton thing, Duck Sick, there was more Duck Sicks after, but I kind of like the original. Straight Checking Them, They Still Gafflin', The First Death Wish, Compton's Lynching, Off of Music to Drive By, Compton for Life, In Too Deep with Scarface, and I wanted to talk about Who's Fucking Who, which is a Tim Dog diss. Now, Tim Dog had dissed the whole city of Compton, and Quick had dissed them here and there in his songs or skits. Dre had them in Dre Day, but Eiht is the only one who made an entire Tim Dog diss track. And for whatever reason, no one else dedicated a whole song to him but Eiht. And I always really liked this Tim Dog diss track. And Death Wish 2. On We Come Strapped, Take Two With Me always stood out. Death Threats, Thugging It Up, I like. Section 8, 3 the Hard Way with Cube, and I think Mac 10's on that. In My Neighborhood, Lunatic, and Which Way Is West, Heart Cold, featuring Lady of Rage, who brings it like it was the Afro Puff days. I can't stress enough, go peep out that song. Are we missing anything?
Another Victim from Music to Drive By was about the only one that didn't get mentioned from either one of y'all. Love that beat, love that song.
I mean, you guys mentioned, mine, the Heart Cold with Lady of Rage. Oh, it's such a good song, man.
Such a good song.
It's such a good song. You got to hear it if you haven't heard it. And then Hit the Floor, featuring Daz back then. Because Daz was so hot when this came out, man. This was like right after Retaliation, Revenge, and Get Back. And
right.
We were paying for some Daz. And if you bought this record to hear that Daz beat, you weren't alone,
Yeah, I'm sure he didn't come cheap in 97. All right. MC Eiht, Compton's Most Wanted. Got him crossed off the list. Have a good night. And until next time, We'll see who's on our next list.
Still a B-boy, from the old to the new, still a B-boy. Too bold for the school, still a B-boy. East Coast to the West, B-boys worldwide, we supposed to be blessed. Still a B-boy, from the old to the new, still a B-boy. Too bold for the school, still a B-boy. East Coast to the West, B-boys worldwide,